Okay guys, so today we're going to get a lot of our facial features drawn in, the remaining ones that are left. So we have the nose, the mouth, we're going to deal with the face shape, and my hope is that we'll get to the ear too by the time we finish today. So it's a big day. Just make sure that you've got your project packet in front of you guys. There's pages dedicated to just single facial features, so if you're having any difficulties along the way, you can look at that page and get some ideas of how to resolve your issues. Now what we're going to start off with, so we've finished our eyes, okay, so hopefully you're happy with your eyes, and now we're going to move down towards the nose. I'm not going to candy coat it, but the nose is just a weird facial feature. I put it right there in the category with the ear too. There's really not all that much to draw for the nose when you're doing a contour drawing. The magic in sort of developing the nose is all in the shading because it's so much about just the form. So you'll really see your nose sort of take form when you start to shade. Okay? So I've got here the page of noses showing here. What I like about this is it just shows you different variations of a nose and even different perspectives, and it kind of talks about just the sizing and stuff like that. I am going to definitely be using my little post-it note that I use to measure my eyes. So this matches the size of my eye, and then what I did was took that measurement, divided into 4 equal sections. So that way I can help myself map out and measure smaller parts too. And just make sure that it's all in proportion to the eye. So we're basing everything on the eye because that's our unit of measurement. Okay? So first thing we need to do, we're going to map out where the eye or the nose needs to go the same way we did like the eyebrows. Okay? We want to figure out basically where it starts and where it ends. Now we mapped out at the beginning of the drawing where we thought the nose was, but now that we've drawn in some things, we may need to adjust that. So what I want you guys to do, take your 4H pencil and measure it. Now that I have my eyes drawn in, I'm going to basically put my pencil at the top or right here at the bottom of my tear duct. And I'll measure how far down it is to the bottom of my nose. And so I'll do that up against my face. So I'm just going to take that, measure that. And it looks like I still got mine in the right spot. But you may find that you need to adjust it. Another thing you could do too is, again, take your Post-it note with your eye measurement on there and even use that. So if I look at that, you can, and again, put that measurement right up against your face. And I think I'm still about right. But the answer is in front of you, looking in the mirror, okay? Not on the paper. So make that adjustment if you need to. Mine is actually surprisingly still okay. And then what we're going to do now, since we were able to draw in the bridge of the nose, that's our start, and we just kind of stopped it right there. Again, one of the things that I kind of talked about for anybody who might not have that finished, our brow bone doesn't actually always match up exactly where our eyebrows are. So, and that's the case with mine. So that's how mine worked. Now again, this line is probably going to get eventually erased away, and we'll develop this edge in here through shading. So that line won't be there when we actually shade the drawing. All right, so we know where the nose is going to kind of start. What I want to do is figure out how wide the nose is. So again, I'm going to use plumb and level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially take my 4H pencil. I'm going to put it up against the side of my nostril on both the right and the left side. And I'm going to put that so that it goes on top of my eye, because I want to see where that pencil, that vertical line, hits my eye. That's going to tell me how wide my nose is. Now here's the other thing, and this is the part I'm always surprised about, is, again, don't assume that your face is symmetrical. Because when I look at how my left nostril is aligned with my left eye and how my right nostril is aligned with my right eye, it's not in the same spot. Okay? So stick your pencil right next to the edge of your nostril. You guys can kind of see. And then see where that line hits your eye. Okay? So see where it hits the eye. So once you figure that out, then make the mark. I'm going to make the mark right on top of my eye. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to make the mark right here on my eye. I just want to double check to make sure that I'm right. Mine just kind of clips it just a little bit. And I'm going to move it all the way down. So this is my guideline for the width of my nose. Okay? And I'm doing my right side. Now I'm going to do the left side. And again, don't assume it's going to hit this eye the same. Mine does not. Mine is a little bit farther over on this side. So again, once I find that spot where that line intersects my eye, I'm going to draw that vertical line all the way down. And again, this goes back to what I was telling you guys. We are not symmetrical. We are not symmetrical at all. Okay, so you can see on mine that, again, it's not the same on both sides. Okay? So now we know how wide our, well, we have an idea of how wide our nose is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. So I'm going to take this Post-it note that has the width of my eye on there, and I'm going to compare it to the width of my nose. So I'm going to do this in the mirror. So I'm going to hold this up to my nose, and I want to just check to see how close they are. And my nose is wider than my eyes, just by a bit. Just by a little bit. It looks like I have it here. So I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm right. So if you guys see on mine, you know, I've got my nose just a tad wider than my eyes, and that's what I see in the mirror. Okay? Now you might find that your nose is a little bit smaller, or maybe it's a perfect match. Whatever that is, that's what you need to measure out on your paper. Okay? All right, so now we're actually ready to draw the nose. So we know where it ends. Now what I want you to do is just look in the mirror at yourself. Okay, so look at the mirror and just kind of study your nose while I'm talking to you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay? What I want you guys to do, everybody's got, and I'll kind of point this out on the handout, everybody has sort of the ball of your nose. Okay? So that's the ball of your nose. Again, this is something you can't really draw as a contour all that well. It's going to be something that's going to be developed more so with the shading. What I want you guys to do is to figure out how wide that ball is. So again, you can take your eye measurement, and if you broke down your eye width like I did, it'll make it easier for you guys to measure out smaller parts. So I'm going to literally put this Post-it note right up onto my nose to kind of figure out just how wide the ball part of my nose is. And so mine is not quite, it's not a half, it's a little bit more than half. So I'm actually going to kind of mark, it's a little bit more than half. I'm going to mark this on my paper. Okay, and you notice this is where I'm saying the bottom of my nose is. I can cap that off. So this is how wide I see the ball of my nose. Just making a couple marks though. So the idea is here on the outside, that's where my nostrils are going to go. Okay? Now, when you look at yourself in the mirror, depending on if you're looking up kind of into the mirror or if you're looking down in the mirror, you might find that you see, and I'll show you here on this sheet, you might find what I call the bridge between the two nostrils. I do not know what the technical term is for this part of your nose, but this part right here, okay? So this is the bridge that's between the two nostril holes. You may or may not see that, okay? Now for me, because I'm kind of looking up into the mirror, I do see mine, okay? So I have to draw that in. So what I'm going to do initially is draw that shape in. And it's going to just kind of look like, I don't know how to describe it. I'm going to kind of zoom in here. It's just going to kind of look like this initially. Now I am going to measure it. And again, I'm going to go back to using my little Post-it note that I broke down the measurement, the width of my eye. I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to put it right up against that little bridge to see how wide it is. And actually, it's about 1/4 of an eye. So now I know how wide it needs to be. I need to make it a little bit wider initially. So there's the bridge of my nose, because I see it. Now some of you might not. The bottom of your nose might be the ball of your nose. But if you see it, draw that in. So now what I'm going to do, because if I look at myself in the mirror, and you can kind of see this on here, is that this bridge leads right into the nostril holes, okay? Leads right into the nostrils. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the nostril holes in. Again, I'm going to measure them using my little Post-it note. Put it right up to the mirror, or put my Post-it note right next to my, or right under my nose, and I'm going to measure the width of my nostril holes. And again, it's about 1/4 of my eye shape, which is the same size as my bridge. So now I know how much farther out I need to go for my nostril holes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start drawing these in. Now again, your left and your right nostril hole are not the same. Some of us see a lot of ours, some of us see a little. Everybody's a little different, okay? And the shape's a little different. It's not always nice and round. Mine is kind of angular. So I'm going to just start drawing this in. And then you can see like the edge of your nostril starting right there. So again, you're not going to know how to draw it right until you draw it wrong. So when you get it on there, then fix it. Now I'm going to go in and do the other one. Didn't know how high it needs to be, so I measured that out. So I've got sort of the bottom of my nose there, and I'm going to play with that a little bit before I move on. Kind of get some of my guidelines out of the way that might be messing me up. And then I can start, so I kind of got that little shape right there. I need to get rid of my... So I still have room for my nostrils, which is good. I'm always surprised too. My one nostril hole is bigger than the other. The left side. I'm not going to play around with these too much because, again, I don't think I know how to fix it quite yet until I get more on here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going around because this hole, and you can look at these sheets here. You know, this is all connected, you know. That's all connected. So I'm going to go ahead and go up into the edges of my nostril, okay? And I don't know how high I need to go, so again, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to see just how tall my nostril needs to be, the edges of my nostril needs to be, compared to my eye. It's a little bit more than a fourth. For that one. And again, measure them both because they're not the same. So now I kind of figured out how tall they need to be, and now I'm going to go in and just kind of draw these in. And again, don't assume that they're nice and curvy. You'll have a lot of angles. And again, I'm just going to get something down here, and then I'll play with it later. And I'm always amazed when I draw my self-portrait just how different each side of my face is. Even these nostrils. But again, this is what makes us look like us. We are not symmetrical. So there's essentially the bottom of my nose. Now, I can go ahead and keep kind of playing around with this. If I want to, I can kind of define the ball of my nose by just basically defining the edges of that ball, like this. And I'm just going to do it very lightly. Actually, this side's a little bit more straight, it's not so round. And then this will help me even up here at the top, the bridge, to kind of get this to be just aligned a little bit better. I'm not going to drop that down too far. And again, now it's just time for you, now that you have a little bit of everything on there, just to play around with this. So now that you see every part on there, then go back through and adjust. Okay, so what I would do is just kind of keep playing around with that a little bit. The rest of it is all going to be done with shading, okay? But pretty much, you know, after you get that stuff drawn in, you've got everything you can do up at that point. Just fiddle around with it until you have something that you like on it.